Hello friends and welcome back to my session. We have been discussing a lot about sustainable tourism in different aspects. But today we will be talking about a very important topic which cannot be ignored, that is human resource planning for tourism in protected areas. So in our session we will be discussing the overview. We will define what is human resource planning. We will talk about the importance of human resource planning. We will align the HR planning with goals of protected areas. Also, we will talk about various steps in human resource planning, the challenges in HR and the conclusion. So, to begin with, we should understand what is the role of human resource planning. Protected areas play a very vital role in conservation of our natural and cultural heritage, preserving biodiversity and providing breathtaking landscapes. However, managing tourism within these protected areas has its own challenges. Therefore, human resource planning comes into practice. So, human resource planning is a strategic process of forecasting, identifying and developing the necessary human resource to meet the goals and objectives in organization or any industry. In this case, we will be talking about planning in protected areas of tourism. In the context of tourism in protected areas, it involves ensuring that we have the right people with the right skills, knowledge and passion to deliver exceptional experiences while safeguarding the fragile ecosystem and cultural treasures that the areas represent. So now first we will define what is human resource planning. So human resource planning, that is HRP, is a strategic process that involves forecasting, identifying and developing the necessary human resources to meet the goals and objectives of an organization. It is a very systematic approach to align the workforce with the present and future needs of the organization. HRP aims to ensure that the right people with the right skills are the right fit for the industry and they are available at the right time to support the organization's success. So now I will take you through various importance of HR planning in tourism industry within the protected areas. In respect to the protected areas, number one is sustainable tourism. So effective HR planning ensures that sustainable development of tourism in protected areas happen. By identifying the required skills and competencies, organizations can hire and train individuals who are knowledgeable about the environment, sensitive to conservation issues and capable of delivering high quality visitor experience without causing any harm to the environment. The second importance is environmental conservation. Protected areas are unique ecosystem with fragile environments that need to be preserved. Human resource planning ensures that tourism employees are well informed about the ecological importance of the area and they are trained in sustainable practices. They can also guide visitors and implement measures to minimize the environmental impact of tourism activities. If the employee of an organization is not trained, then definitely he won't be able to guide to the tourist. So HR planning here plays a very major role in guiding the guides in order to educate them regarding the environmental precautions. The next is cultural preservations. Cultural preservation is also very important. Many protected areas are very rich in culture, so they has to be protected, and this can only be achieved if the employee are being trained about the cultural sensitivity so that they can further tell the tourist about the same. So training plays a very major role when it comes to about telling the employees how to deal with the cultural sensitivity or environmental cases. Next is visitor satisfaction. Human resource planning plays a very important role in visitor satisfaction. Also, well trained and motivated staff can be only able to deliver the best of the services, and the visitor can be able to have the best of their experiences and satisfaction. If they are satisfied, they will tend to come again and again to revisit the places or the destinations, and if they are not satisfied, they will definitely tell many other people about their dissatisfaction and they will never return back to the destination. Even this activity enhances the overall visitor experience and encourages the positive word of mouth, which attracts more tourists to the protected area. Next comes the crisis management and safety. The protected areas may sometimes face certain consequences which were not expected. Human resource planning will ensure that they will prepare the employees for well in advance for any type of crisis management. Having well-trained staff can effectively respond to crisis management, and they will not create any situation of panic and deal everything very confidently. Next is importance is economic development. What do you mean by economic development? The tourism industry contributes significantly to the local economy, and effective human resource planning will help to maximize the economic benefits by identifying the right workforce to meet the demands of tourism and hospitality services. Also, this will lead to job creation and more earning, and also improve the standard of living of the local people and the host communities. Now I will try to align the HR planning with the goals of protected areas. So what will happen if we align them? Because this is not just about HR planning, it is the HR planning within the protected areas. So we will see in that context. Aligning human resource planning with the goals and objective of the protected areas is very crucial for the sustainable development and management of tourism. Also, here are some key reasons highlighting why it is important, why do we need to align. So you can see here, the first is conservation focus. The protected areas are established with the primary objective of conserving of natural resources. So their foremost objective is to conserve the nature, not to exploit or not to deplete the natural resources so that they are not available for the future generation. So this comes a major role. How do we align it? Aligning the HR planning with the goals will ensure that there are workforce who supports the conservation mission. If there is no workforce with the intention of telling other people to conserve and also practicing the same, then the intention of the entire process or sustainability will be diluted. So in this case, we need to have a very trained force for the practice of conservation. Also, this alignment will help to promote a culture of environment stewardship among employees. So even employees will be knowing how to have respect for the environment, how do we need to protect and conserve our environment. Also, this will play a very crucial role in safeguarding the integrity of the protected areas. Next is, we need to align with a very important focus of protected area, that is visitor experience. Anywhere we are always just doing everything for the sake of delivering the best of the experience to the visitors. So in this case, the human resource planning that aligns with the objective of protected area will be able to deliver an exceptional visitor experiences so that they are delighted and they tend to come back again and again. By aligning the training program with the unique features and values of the protected areas, the employee can provide accurate information. They can always guide the tourist or guide the visitor correctly. They will not be in any dilemma of telling the places wrong or the directions wrong, or whatever the inquiry is coming to them, they are able to answer it well. This will interpret the significance of the natural and cultural heritage and will guide the visitors accordingly. Next comes the sustainable tourism development. This is also a very important one of the feature which makes us align the goals with the HR planning process. So what happens in sustainable tourism development? This is a process of development which takes into account the future needs also. This is an activity wherein the principals keep into mind that we don't have to compromise on future generation needs. We will not be using anything in any sense that will harm the three aspects, that is the economy, the environment and the society. By integrating sustainability principles into recruitment, training and performance management practices, the organizations can foster responsible tourism practices and can contribute to the long-term viability of the protected area. So sustainability is not just a buzzword, rather it's a future mechanism. It's a future approach that we do well in advance in order to have a safeguarded and a happy future of the future coming tourist. Next is collaboration and stakeholder engagement. So this is also one of the reasons why we align. The protected areas often involve multiple stakeholders, including the local community, the government, the private players, the NGOs and the various tourism operators. Aligning human resource planning with the goals and objectives of the protected area will encourage the collaboration among them, and they would be able to exchange lot of ideas and come up with various established policies which would be very fruitful for the organizations coming up. By involving the key stakeholders in the planning process, we would be able to understand and better address what is their needs. So there should be a listening between the stakeholders, and also the human resource planning is the supplier end. So the people who are demanding for the employees are the stakeholders of tourism. So they should be well clear about their needs, and they should be conveying them to the HR people so that the right fit is being selected and being supplied to them for the better performances in future. Also, this collaboration will facilitate the development of effective strategy that will benefit both the protected area and also the local community people. Adaptability and resilience. This is also one very important step. Protected areas involve lot of challenges such as climate changes, visitor preferences changes, also the socio-economic shifts. So these are all situations wherein we need to be adaptive and also show resilience, that even if something has made us affected, then we should be able to bounce back to the same position where we were before the crisis. Also, aligning HR with the goals will help us to be flexible and adaptable in nature. By identifying the emerging skill requirements, implementing continuous learning and development process, and fostering a culture of innovation, organization can respond very effectively. So we need to train our employees in a manner that they are able to be adaptive and resilient in any situation, in fact any difficult situation. So they are able to bounce back, and they should also be trained so that they are able to provide certain solutions, not only be the sufferers, rather they should be people who are coming out with the solution. So we need to hire smart people and rather some flexible people. Suppose there is any type of a lot of changes in the climate, because of it there can be changes in the flow of the tourist. So people can have different shifts, they can have a different busy period. So they need to be very flexible and adaptive for any type of changes that happens at their workplace as well. Now we will discuss the various steps in human resource planning process. The first and foremost step is environmental analysis. The organizations begin by conducting an analysis of internal and external factors that the HR needs. Also, this will include that considering various factors of organizations, like considering the goals, industry trends, labor market conditions, technological advancements and regulatory requirements. Also, the environmental analysis helps to set context for human resource planning. So we have to consider the internal and the external environment. There are certain factors which will be deciding upon the initiating in fact the human resource process, so that we are able to know the needs and what are the exact requirements, what are the goals of the people who are hiring or who are looking forward for the support of HR. So we need to know them very clearly. Next is we need to analyze the workforce. Workforce analysis is a very crucial step which involves that we need to assess the organization's current workforce and also the future requirements. If we have no clue about that what the present day workforce is about, so we need to first assess today's workforce and then plan for the future hirings. Also, this will include analyzing the organizational structure, the job roles, the job descriptions, the skills and the competencies which are needed for each roles. Workforce analysis will also help us to identify any gaps or surpluses in the workforce which can help in the future. Also, we need to define the job descriptions very clearly. There cannot be any confusion that if a person is hired, what the person has to do, or of what competency we need to hire a person. We need to be very clear on two things: what will be the qualification and the experience needs of a person, also what he is expected to do when he joins the department or joins in any organization. So these two things should be very clear from the HR end. Then comes the demand forecasting. Demand forecasting is also very important because it estimates the future workforce need based on the factors such as business growth, expansion plans, any anticipated retirements or attritions, and market demand. So sometimes you might have heard especially during the COVID times, there was a news all around the market that the tourism and hospitality sector has just gone into decline, and there were so many people left jobless. The demand all of a sudden was vanished from the market, and there was no need for the new employees. In fact, the other employees who were already working were also told to sit back, and they were furloughed. So this demand forecast will always help to know that how much people do we need for further future requirements, and this will always depend upon any type of a growth plan of the company, any type of the basically anticipated retirements plan of the company. So these things will depend. If any company is not performing good then and is about to reduce, then the first thing they do, shortcutting, is basically the expense cutting is already done on the employees. So a lot of people will be told to sit back and they would be basically terminated. So it involves projecting also the number of the employees required as well as their skills and competencies. Also, to meet the organization's strategic goals and objectives, the demand forecasting is very fruitful to determine the quantity and quality of the human resources needed by any brand or an organization. Then comes the supply forecasting. The supply forecasting accesses the availability of internal and external talent to meet the projected demand. Okay, are we having enough people whom we can supply to? And it doesn't matter if we have huge people in good numbers, it matters, do we have quality people? I mean, are they able to meet the requirements what the industry has asked for? Are they competent enough to go for that particular job role? So depending on their competencies, we need to figure out the supply forecast as well. Otherwise, if we have a sudden demand and we have no supply, then also there would be a chaos. The supply forecasting always help us to determine whether the organization has a talented pool of people to meet its future requirements or not. This is also important, which is gap analysis. Gap analysis compare the projected demand and supply of human resources. Also, it identifies the area where there is a shortage or surplus of talents. So, if in any particular department there is a shortage of talent or surplus of talent, then we can always do a shifting, we can always do cross trainings to make the people adjustable in different areas of requirement. By identifying gaps, the organization can also develop certain strategies to address the deficiencies. Also, this may involve recruitment efforts. This also helps in training and development initiatives and also the succession planning or workforce restructuring. Now comes the recruitment and selection. This is a very important role of any HR process. The recruitment and selection strategies are developed to attract and select a suitable candidate to fill the identified talented gaps. So the question is, are we hiring the right people? And this will only come if we are practicing a very efficient, rather effective recruitment process. This may involve addressing job openings, sourcing candidates through various channels, conducting their interviews, even conducting lot of activities during the interview, whether we need to take a group discussion, whether it has to be a group interview, whether we need to undergo any written round, any type of a trade test or any type of a practical knowledge need to be assessed. So these all things are very important, and the goal is to attract and hire individuals who possesses lot of competency, required skills, and also they are cultural fit for the organization. So if there is a misfit in the hiring, then the entire work or the vision of the organization will also dilute. So the right organization can always perform right with the help of right people chosen for the department. Next is training and development. The training and development programs are designed basically to enhance these skills, knowledge and competency of the existing workforce. So the job doesn't end at the time when we hire. No, the job begins actually of training now, that we need to hire the existing workforces and we need to train them for the upcoming changes of the trends, any type of updated softwares or any type of need for which we need to equip them again. We need to train them and develop their competencies. Training department is a very important department, as they have to always regulate and keep on planning the continuous training programs. The training initiatives include like workshops, seminars, on the job training, mentoring, counseling and career development opportunities. Training and development aligns with the organization goals and also contribute in the employee growth in longer run. Next comes the monitoring and evaluation. The human resource planning is an ongoing process that requires continuous monitoring. Now we have developed a very rigorous process of HR, but then there is no monitoring or evaluation, then it's all in waste. Organizations should regularly assess the effectiveness of their human resource planning strategies and they should make necessary adjustment based on the requirements. Also, monitoring and evaluations help to ensure the alignment of human resource activities. So now we will discuss what are the challenges of human resources planning. The human resource planning faces majorly 4 to 5 challenges. The first one is seasonal fluctuations. What happens in seasonal fluctuation? Many protected areas experience great and significant seasonal fluctuations in visitor numbers. This poses challenge in managing the workforce. We should be informed in well advance that how many people are required depending upon the footfall or depending upon the visitors' visits. But then if all of a sudden we have a fluctuation, then the entire HR planning will fail. The human resource planning must consider strategies which should be then flexible. Also, they should consider some part-time or seasonal employment also. That in high season, we need lot of people and maybe in low season, we need less people. So, they can be part-time or they can be a seasonal type of a requirements done. Also, cross-training to optimize staffing levels during peak period should be done. So, we should not furlough or we should not terminate any employees. Rather, we should always make them already equipped with the knowledge of other department through cross trainings. The other challenge is limited resources. Protected areas often face resource constraints which includes limited funding and infrastructure. So this can affect the organization's ability to attract, develop and retain skilled employees. So if there are limited resources, the employees will be demotivated and nobody would be willing to work in any such organizational setup. So human resource planning must always involve some creative solutions like partnering with local communities, utilizing the volunteers and leveraging the technology to maximize the resource utilization and also the overcoming any budget limitations. Now next is skill and knowledge requirements. Tourism in protected areas require specialization, knowledge and skills to ensure the conservation of natural and cultural heritage. So, however, human resource planning should always make efforts to identify and develop the local talent through training programs, because the local people are the best fit. They know their community well. So, in fact, we should try to utilize the local manpower which is available, and if they are not very much competent, we can rather train them. But because they have different competencies at their own regional level, that will help the organization to grow. Also, training can be done through programs, internships and partnerships with some of the educational institutes also. It is very essential to create a career pathways and provide ongoing professional training. So, we should actually aim for capacity management program. Capacity building should be done for the local people, which can be proved to be a very useful manpower source for the organization. Next is seasonal training and knowledge transfer. With seasonal staff turnover, ensuring consistent knowledge and skills across the workforce becomes a challenge. So, human resource planning should include effective training and knowledge transfer programs also, and also documentation, mentoring programs and technology based learning platforms can always aid in transferring the knowledge from one experienced employee to a new employee. Also, some good organizations, what they do is they attach a new employee with a senior employee as a buddy, so that during their new journey they are able to learn and get accustomed with the environment and the working processes of the organization. So this helps in the bonding also, and also the development of the new joinee or the young employees. So now I conclude my discussion for today. Human resource planning for tourism in protected areas is very essential for achieving the sustainable development. Also, by aligning human resource goals and objectives of the protected area, we can always have an effective management of the workforce to meet the unique challenges and opportunities which are presented by the environments. Next, the effective human resources plans to ensure that the employees are very much equipped with lot of knowledge and the necessary skills. It involves also the analyzing of the workforce for forecasting the demand and supply, and also bridging skill gaps through the gap analysis, recruitment and effective training process. So I would like to summarize, like if we need a company to perform best, then we should definitely hire best people and at the right time. That's all for my session. Thank you and have a very good day.